This is super interesting because you may get different answers if you interview someone who's spent their whole career in academia.
Yeah.
I'm different in that I spent time with a nonprofit organization, time with a private firm, and now time with an academic institution. I never felt imposter syndrome when I was serving as an environmental consultant. I felt confidence in the fact that in that office, I was the expert on biology and endangered species. And even though what I had to offer wasn't compelling necessarily to engineers, they definitely treated me as the expert, even though I was a 28-year-old straight out of graduate school. So I didn't experience it there. Red Butte Garden was wonderful because the particular skill set they were looking for when I started as the director of conservation was exactly the experience I had, right? Rare plants and plant studies and pollinator studies. I knew exactly how to do that. I had a little bit of imposter syndrome as when I transitioned to an education specialist because I hadn't really taught before. But I was surrounded by a bunch of new hires also serving as education specialists, all of us learning at the same time. However, when I started at the University of Utah, massive imposter syndrome. I don't have a PhD. I constantly have to remind myself, I never wanted a PhD. That was not my path. It was never something I really seriously contemplated because I found my space in the applied world. That's where I felt my skill set was best utilized. And I'm constantly called Professor Sibul and Dr. Amy, and I'm constantly saying, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a professor. There's a hierarchy, there's a caste system at the university, and it's more prevalent in certain departments than others. It's prevalent in the College of Science, right? Tenure track, career line faculty that have master's degrees as their highest degree. So I'm in this low caste, and I find myself constantly feeling I have to justify my existence to myself as much as to anyone else. You know, I compare myself inevitably to someone like Denise Deering or Leslie Seaberth, who, you know, are leaders in the biology department, who are distinguished tenure track faculty, who have published, you know, dozens and dozens of peer-reviewed articles. And I have to constantly remind myself that that's their path and it's valuable. And I am so glad that they focus their careers on research. That's not the path I wanted. It's not the path I chose. I'm going in my own direction. I'm contributing in the way that I want to contribute, which is to raise as much awareness as possible around the issues of conservation. Part of the imposter syndrome was especially prevalent when Neil Vickers tapped me to start teaching wildlife ecology. And I reminded him, and this was back in 2013, because I have a wildlife biology degree. No one else on the faculty lineup in biology had a wildlife biology degree. And I reminded him, I don't have a PhD. And he said, well, we have postdocs teach classes. They're not, you know, professors. And we also have PhD students who do not yet have a PhD either. What makes you any less qualified to teach than them? And that kind of snapped me to attention. And then they transitioned me from teaching wildlife ecology to teaching conservation biology. And again, that imposter syndrome of like, am I qualified? Oh my gosh, compared to the kind of intense global research that Chan does, you know, and I have to remind myself, yes, I'm qualified. Yeah, yes, my background suits this. There are so many different ways to gain knowledge. You know, scholarship and academia is an incredibly important, valuable way to gain knowledge, but gaining knowledge through applied work with agencies and nonprofits and communities is also incredibly valuable. And the field I'm in, conservation biology, is nothing without community involvement. it's also different because I'm at University of Utah, where the predominant, you all know this, right? The predominant path for biology majors is, professional schooling after that, pre-dental, pre-med, or going into academia. So I'm in this minority of folks who are focusing not on pre-med, but on ecology. And that, I don't know, that builds a niche for me that I think the biology department wouldn't have if it were, say, Utah State University. Does that, I went on and on, but yeah, it's a struggle every day